Hi, welcome to my channel. Today, the presentation is on morphology in cell injury. Cells are the building blocks of life, and when they undergo injury, it can have significant consequences for the entire organism. In this video, we will see the changes that occurs when cells are subjected to injury. So let's begin with the cellular responses to cell injury. First is about the introduction. So what do you mean by cell injury? Cell injury is defined as a variety of stresses a cell encounters as a result of changes in its internal and external environment. So this is called a cell injury. When there is a stress, so there are the cell injury. All cells of the body have inbuilt mechanism to deal with such changes in environment. The cellular response to injury varies and depends upon the type of cell and tissue involved as well as on extent and type of cell injury. Now, the cellular responses to this injury may be: first, the cell may adapt to the changes which are expressed morphologically and then revert back to normal after the stress is removed. It is called cellular adaptation. Whereas the residual effects may persist in the cell as evidence of cell injury at subcellular level, which is a subcellular changes, or metabolites may accumulate within the cell, which is a intracellular accumulation, or the injured cell may recover or get die. If they get recover, it is called reversible cell injury, whereas if they get die, then it is a irreversible cell injury. Now here we see exactly what happens or which are the different changes which can be occurs. So here is the normal bronchial epithelial cell. When there is a stress, so it will be get changes or it will be shows a different changes like when there is a stress, then in order to survive and maintain the normal steady state, the cells get adjust themselves with the changing environment. So these are called adaptations. Means adaptation will see when the cells are exposed to stress. So to survive, they will get changed themselves, like they will produce a atrophy, hypertrophy, hyperplasia, metaplasia, and dysplasia. In next slide, we see exactly what the meaning of all these. But if the cellular injury occurs, the cellular injury occurs when cell fails to adapt due to loss of ability to meet the demands placed on it. So it will be a reversible cell injury or it may be a irreversible cell injury. Reversible cell injury in that if stress get removed, then it comes back to normal state. Whereas, but if they are not get come back to normal state, even the stress is removed, the changes which is called irreversible cell injury. In next slide we discuss the meaning of all these. So first is about atrophy. Atrophy is the shrinkage of a tissue or organ due to a decrease in size and or number of cells. It can occur physiologically. For example, when the uterus decreases in size after birth following the cessation of production of hormones and which stimulated its growth, or pathologically, for example, atrophy of an organ due to inadequate blood or nutritional supply. So in both cases, the atrophy will occur. More examples like atrophy of disuse where decreased functional demand leads to muscle atrophy, and this is normally reversible with activity. Second example, atrophy of an endocrine organ due to loss of hormonal stimuli. Now next is about the hypertrophy. Name itself indicate that hypertrophy is an increase in the tissue or organ size due to an increase in cell size without an increase in cell number. Hypertrophy usually occurs where there is increased functional demand on a tissue or where there is a hormonal stimulation. The hypertrophy is especially prevalent in permanent cell population such as a skeletal muscle. These cells cannot divide to increase their cell number. The only way to increasing the size of the tissue is to increase the size of each constituent cell. In cell population where division can occur, hypertrophy may occur alongside hyperplasia to increase both number and size of cells. More examples of hypertrophy include right ventricular hypertrophy in response to pulmonary hypertension. Means in pulmonary hypertension, there are the hypertrophy of ventricle occurs. Second example, compensatory hypertrophy in paired organs such as the kidneys, where one organ is removed or dysfunctional and other hypertrophies to increase its functional ability. Expansion, second is expansion of the pregnant uterus. So these are the examples of hypertrophy. Moving to the next one is the hyperplasia. Hyperplasia is an increase in tissue or organ size due to increased cell number. So hyperplasia in that there is an increase in cell number without an increase in cell size, and it can only occur in labile or stable cell population. The cell proliferation in hyperplasia remains under physiological control and it is reversible. So hyperplasia may occur secondary to a pathological process, but the proliferation itself is a not abnormal, only the trigger. Now here are some examples like endometrial proliferation under the influence of estrogen during the menstrual cycle. Second example, like thyroid goiter in response to iodine deficiency and epidermal thickening in eczema. So these are the examples of hyperplasia. Now next one is the metaplasia. So metaplasia is the reversible change of one differential cell type to another. Means in this the one type get changed to another type of cell. So it usually occurs in epithelial tissues as an adaptive response to cell stress. Cells can be substituted by those type better situated to the environment, and so this occur via altered stem cell differentiation, and thus metaplasia can only occur in labile or in stable tissues. Examples are like bronchial pseudostratified ciliated epithelium becoming stratified squamous epithelium in response to cigarette smoke. Another example like stratified squamous epithelium in the esophagus becoming gastric epithelium when exposed to persistent acid reflux. So these are the example of metaplasia. Now, dysplasia. The dysplasia is the formation of abnormally differentiated cells within the tissue. Initially, this change is reversible, but as the dysplasia becomes more severe, the reversible becomes less likely and there is a greater chances of progression to neoplasia and cancer. A common clinical example of dysplasia occurs in the cervix, in which abnormal cells appear in cervix or endocervical canal. It is preliminary caused by human papilloma virus infection and can be detected via cervical smear test. So here we see about the which are the different morphological changes occurs in cell injury. So hope all of you getting this. Thank you. Happy learning.